Hi. Um, so it's morning. You can probably tell by how bright the sun is. And I'm wearing my glasses because a couple of days ago I broke one of my contacts when I was washing them. That's only the second time that's happened to me in some 43 years of wearing contacts. And the last time I was 16 years old and in the 11th grade. So there you go. But anyway. So I guess this one is going to be called Moving to Minnesota 3. So I told you that original plan was that my parents were going to rebuild this old farmhouse that was on the farm in Carlstead. And then there was this house that was a rental place that we were going to live in. But that didn't work out so well. And then I remember there was some talk of renting a house in town in Carlstead, and then Papa would go out and work the farm or whatever during the day, but we didn't do that. So what they finally decided to do was they decided to buy a trailer and then move it to the farm, and we would live in there. And it's funny how I think about now that we lived in that trailer. It was a single wide. It had 3 bedrooms. And Uncle Joel and I had our own bedroom, which was a good thing, but they were quite small. I mean, basically big enough for a single bed and a dresser, and that was about it. And then Mama and Papa had the master bedroom, but again, it wasn't that big either. And I'm also trying to remember, I'm pretty sure it was a 1-bath house, which now just seems, it just seems impossible for people to get by with 1 bath. But anyway, so when they found this trailer, I guess it was part of the deal in buying it that we had to get it ready to move from the farm that it was on to our farm. I don't remember exactly how far that farm away was. I don't remember. I don't remember, but I remember. But what I do remember, and this is what I wanted to tell you, was that Papa and I went over there one day to work on this trailer, which I think was probably to make sure that the tires had air in them and that the skirting around the bottom was taken out and the plumbing was unhooked, electricity was unhooked, and that sort of stuff like that. And so we went over there that day in that big old farm truck that we had, which I should probably back up and say on occasion would have trouble starting, that there was a bad connection in the battery or something to that effect. And so we went over there one afternoon and we were working on this, and we may have gone over there during the day because I guess we were there quite a while. And we go and to leave, I guess, but the truck won't start. So keep in mind that this was 1979, so there were no cell phones, and this was in a very, very sparsely populated part of northern Minnesota, so there were no neighbors right next door down the road or anything like that. But this farm was close to, there were some railroad tracks. So knowing oh, this seems so stupid now. But anyway, knowing that the railroad tracks would eventually get to a small town, I volunteered to go walk down the railroad tracks to the next town so that we could find a phone to use, so I could call Mama and have her come out there and bring jumper cables so that we could start the truck and go home. And I think about it now, and I'm sure there probably were farms close, half mile away or whatever, and why it seemed like a good idea to walk to a town down the railroad tracks, not knowing how far that town would be, now seems really silly. I don't even know what the thought process was I had or Papa had to do that. But anyway, so I remember started down these railroad tracks and walked and walked and walked and walked some more and walked some more, and I finally did get to a small town, but I again don't remember what small town it was. There was I think a grocery store or a cafe. I really can't remember what it was, but I went in and asked if I could use the phone. I explained to the lady what had happened, and And I remember she said, probably if you would have just gone to one of the other farms, they would have been glad to give you a hand. And again, I had no explanation then, and I have no explanation now as to why I didn't do that, or that wasn't what Papa told me to do. But anyway, so I used the phone and I called Mama, and then so she came to help us, and I had to walk back. And I remember, and I suppose this is probably true, but the lady knew the farm where the trailer was, and I asked her if she thought she knew how far it was, and she said probably 3 or 4 miles. So it was a long walk. And again, as I sit here driving along in North Carolina in 2021, a much older and hopefully somewhat wiser man, I think, what if the next town would have been 10 miles away? I mean, it just seems crazy to me now. So maybe it's possible that we had a map in the truck and we knew there was a town down the road or down the railroad tracks. I just don't know. It just seems now, it really does seem careless and irresponsible. And keep in mind, again, it's not like I was 25, I was 16. And just heading off into nowhere, hoping to find a town. At least that's how I remember it. But the good news is that I did find a town. I found a phone. I called Mama. We got the truck started, and eventually we got the trailer moved. And so the trailer, we actually had to hire some guy to move the trailer. And I do remember that they moved it into this little spot next to that old farmhouse. And it was actually a really pleasant spot. It was sort of, the back of it was all trees, and so it was, somewhat protected from the wind and stuff. And anyway, so we moved in, and I will say that it was much more comfortable than anything that I had lived in since we had left Idaho, which at this point was probably 2 months, if not more, previous to that. But they had screens, and so there were no mosquitoes, and it had running water, and it had a flush toilet and all those things. So that was all really good. And I think for my next story, I may talk about how my parents chose to heat that trailer in the winter in northern Minnesota, which was a challenge, as you might well imagine. Okay, there you go. Love you.